Welcome to another packed edition of NC Sports Weekly News. Lots happening in global water sports. Hyeres delivered as great conditions greeted top Olympic hopefuls for the final curtain of the ISAF World Cup. You win it and you get to ring it. Carissa and Mick both successfully defend their ASB throne at the Bells Beach Pro in Western Australia. A huge fleet of 2,500 yachts met up in France for the Spi Ouest Classic. The full report with senior correspondent Sébastien Destremont. Maxis, mini-maxis, Swans, One Designs, Caribbean racing season is full on in the French Antilles at Voiles de Saint Barth. Peninsula Petrouleum comes back to top the RC44 fleet racing in Caiscas, while Synergy takes home the match races. NC Sports, plunge into the action. The ISAF World Cup for the Olympic classes saw its final showdown in Hyeres. The peak event of this 2013-2014 season saw 1,100 of the very best sailors from nearly 60 nations flocking to southern France. And while the games are still 2 years away, this remains a key stopover on the long road to Rio 2016. The show was full on for the medal races with perfect 12 to 14 knot winds blowing on flat water. In men's laser, it was a tight battle to the finish between Australia's Tom Burton and New Zealand's Andy Maloney. Entering the medal race in the lead, the Kiwis had to instead settle for silver when overall victory slipped away with a 7th place finish, while the Aussie hung on to 5th and the gold by a single point. Holland's Rutger van Schaardenberg closed the podium with the bronze. Similar story in the women's laser radial as just 1 point separated Evie Van Acker's gold from Tatiana Dorzdowska's silver. The Belgian and the Belarusian were rarely off the podium, but Evie pulled away in the medal race, while Palma winner Marit Bouwmeester took bronze for Holland. Family tradition is paying off for the future hosts of Rio 2016, and as Father Torben and Uncle Lars look on, Brazil's Martine Sofia Tigral and Kahina Kunze put on their top seasonal performance in the 49er FX, and dominated the series, packing 5 wins and as many podium placements. The result confirmed the season performances, with the Kiwis Maloney and Meach taking the silver, and bronze going to Denmark's Bad Nielsen and Turskad Orsen. Also, with 5 wins, Peter Burling and Blair Tuke reconfirmed their gold in Palma in men's 49ers, with yet another success here in Hyeres. The Kiwis were chased by the Irish, Seaton and McGovern, with the silver, who managed to hold back the strong Aussies Outridge and Jensen in bronze. No doubt the strong Australians, Matt Belcher and Will Ryan, were back on top in the 470s in Hyeres, thanks to an impressive 7 wins in 12 races. Mantis and Kagialis from Greece, with Bouvet and Millon of France, completed the podium. In women's 470s, Joe Alle and Polly Powery confirmed their supremacy, bagging the 3rd ISAF World Cup gold for the season. The most consistent, the Kiwis distanced both Wegland and McIntyre of the UK, and the Americans Hyeres and Provancha. Vittorio Bissari and Silvia Siculi showed their rising force on the new Nacra 17, closing on equal points with French powerhouse team Besson and Liu. The Italians took their first World Cup gold here thanks to a 4th place finish in the medal race, while Bunduck and Curtis completed the podium for Australia. Poland dominated the men's RSX in Hyeres, with Piotr Mirska literally on fire, winning 8 races for the gold, and Paul Tarnowski taking the silver. Holland's Dorian van Rysselberghe took the bronze. Super tight finish instead in ladies RSX, as just 2 points overall separated Moana Dell from Jaihu Wu and Maya Zjarnowska. Germany takes the gold, with China and Poland closing respectively in silver and bronze. Also a close 3-way finish in Hyeres for the Sonar Paralympic class, with the UK, France and Australia respectively filling the podium. For more World Cup action, interviews, and full results, stay tuned to Nautical Channel for the upcoming edition of the NC Sports Buzz. Smooth 1 to 1.5 meter swells have set the scene as both the local stars and 2013 reigning ASP world champions Carissa Moore and Mick got to win it and to ring it at the recent Rip Curl Bells Beach Classic in Western Australia. Men's action, Fanning made up for his weak results at the Margaret River Pro and reached the final by defeating compatriot Julian Wilson in the semis with an 18.20 to 17.36. On his path, Mick found another fellow Aussie veteran in Taj Burrow, definitely on a roll after the last two ASP events down under. Taj instead did away with American John Florence in his semifinal with a tight score of 14.43 to 13.43. The high scores came in for the final as Fanning waited patiently for the best set of waves and posted an 8.83 early on, and then another 8.0, leaving Burrow to do the chasing. Taj responded with a huge 9.63, but couldn't keep up with Mick's consistency. That brought him his third Bells Beach
champion, Mr. Mick Fanning!
With this victory, Fanning is now back in the game, sitting in third place on the ASP World Ranking list, behind Medina, Parkinson, and ahead of Slater and the Sosa. Carissa Moore is instead holding on to a comfortable lead after victory in both the Margaret River Pro and here in Bells Beach, where she also won last year, and is now chased by Gilmore, Wright, Fitzgibbons, and Buitendog on top of the world ranks. The Hawaiian pushed back Aussie Sally Fitzgibbon in a tight semifinal with just a 0.57 point difference on the scoreboard. The other all-Australian semi-arch rival and 2013 vice-champion Tyler Wright put on the big numbers and defeated Stephanie Gilmore with a strong 17.77 to 13.77. The final match between Moore and Wright saw near equal scores as both riders posted some early 750s and then moved up to the 8-point performances. In the end, just a half point would decide the match, with Carissa taking the win with a 16.23 to 15.77. Next stop for the ASP Tour is Rio de Janeiro in mid-May. Be there with NC Sports.
Welcome to the office. April is an intense month of racing in Brittany.
The Easter weekend is also the return of the great Festival of Sailing in La Trinité-sur-Mer. 2,500 sailors gather in Brittany for the 36th edition of the Spi Ouest France. The races are held under exceptional weather conditions for the 408 boats divided into 18 categories. A very tactical and technical Spi Ouest this year. All the ingredients are there to spice up the event. Most of the podiums are decided on the final races held on Easter Monday with a few surprises. In M34, Courrier Dunkirk wins the trophy after trailing Groupama all week. In J80s, the largest fleet with 89 competitors, Saffron, skipped by Morgan Lagravière, snatches the trophy in the dying moments of the final race. In Grand Surprise, the Apprentice, skipped by Christophe Montoriol, manages to leapfrog Paulette de la Mouette. In IRC1, and following 11 years of relentless efforts, the TP52 Paprec Recyclage wins 4 races and finally secures the Spi Ouest France. Lastly, in the spectacular Open 7.50s, even the superstars Loïc Perron and Alain Gauthier couldn't overtake the sled's specialist, Nicolas Rollo.
Rendezvous next week, same time, same place. Until then, goodbye and fair sailing.
The Caribbean sailing season is now in full swing, with several of the top international yachts, helmsmen, and crews taking on the spectacular island-to-island challenge. Reaching its 6th edition this year, Le Voiles de Saint Barth went center stage in the French Antilles with nearly 70 boats on the water in a broad variety of classes. In the Maxis, a 69-footer Caol y la R took the win for American Alex Scherer over pursuers Ramler and Aragon. In the Spinnaker Zero division, Frank Knowles' near miss was right on target with a first place for Switzerland, while Jim Madden's J125 Stark Raving Mad 4 took the Spinnaker 1 for the USA. The Swans, of course, were also on the water in different sizes and shapes, just like the Milgis 24s and 32s. And with a breathtaking scenery stealing the show, a number of other cruiser, one design, and multi-hull classes also fought for supremacy in Saint Barth in the 5 scheduled coastal regattas. Caiscas on Portugal's Atlantic Ocean was the perfect setting for this second leg of the RC44 circuit, delivering excellent conditions with 12 knots, building up to 18 for the final and crucial day of racing. Coming from behind, John Batasonic, Gibraltar's base team Peninsula Petrouleum, was the big surprise in fleet racing and managed to topple the leading Russians on Nika and fellow Britons on Team Aqua. With Italian America's Cup veteran Vasco Vascotto calling tactics, Peninsula Petrouleum managed to reach the top with a final 5-point advantage in 12 races. With this win and thanks to its second place in Virgin Gorda, Baldassone and Vascotto now sit at the top of the RC44 fleet racing leaderboard. In match racing, Synergy Team, with America's Cup 32 winner Ed Beard, closed with an impressive 6-0 for Russia, outdoing the entire fleet to capture Caiscas unbeaten. With Virgin Gorda already in the bag, Synergy now leads the match racing, followed by the French on Aleph and the UK's Team Aqua. RC44 action will resume for the Soto Grande Cup at the end of June in southern Spain. And for more sailing action, remember, Nautical Channel's got the very best of Olympic sailing coming your way on next week's NC Sports Buzz. The winners, the losers, and the full take on the ISAF World Cup in Hyeres. Plunge into the action with NC Sports.